Hey everyone, how you doing? Let me just turn down my volume there. So I thought I'd jump on and talk about the SMARS version 4. Quite a few people have asked what the differences are between the version 4 and the original SMARS version, so I thought best way to just show people and jump on. So let me just switch over to this camera. So this is my overhead. We have on the left hand side a SMARS version 4 components, and on the right hand side we have the original SMARS. So I suppose let's just do a bit of a side-by-side comparison of the two things. So the first thing is the chassis. So as you can see, this version 4 chassis has 4 sort of wheel stubs, as I call them, and the original one just has 2, and it has 2 holes for the motors. Now the unusual thing about the version 4, it's 4-wheel drive, so it has 4 motor holders versus the 2 in the original SMARS. So if we were to put those motors in place, there's another unusual thing about them, so let me just put that in place there and show you. I might just take that little pip out of the way actually, because I don't think that's helping, so let me just hide that. So there we go, that's 2 motors in, and let me put in the next set of motors. So they go in like so. They've not got the wires on, so obviously these are not going to be connected up just now, but just wanted to show you. And what happens is those motors present themselves through the bottom of that stub, which is very different than how these ones work, because on the original SMARS, these are unpowered wheels. The powered wheels are the ones without the stubs on. So let's just do that as a side-by-side comparison. So you can see that the 4, they fit quite neatly in there. These are exactly the same dimensions. But the other thing as well is look at the wheel stubs themselves. I don't know if you can see that. They're kind of flat on the top, whereas these ones are completely circular. As well as making them easier to print, it makes them easier to get the wheels on and off if you ever need to do that. So these wheels are also very, very different. So have a look at the wheel. There's actually like a contoured, rounded surface inside there. And then what you have is this other part of the wheel, the sort of, the hub, which has got this kind of spiky look to it, and that will just slot into there like so. And then on the other side of that, I don't know if we can see this on here, might be easier for me to show you on this larger one. We look right inside there. Let me just get it right in the middle so it there's that little flat bit, probably just about to see it, where the motor has a spindle with a flat side on it. So what that does is, in effect, that's going to push onto and locate itself like that onto the motor and turn. But this is actually in front of it. So if I just push this into place, and then we get this roughly in the right area, so that's the flat bit's just about there, then that's now engaged with the motor. So you do need to attach these the bits in the middle. I recommend just a dab of glue. It doesn't mean that's permanent, but they can fall out. And then you do the same. So all 4 wheels are exactly the same. So again, that makes it a bit easier to print, unlike the regular chassis that's got 2 different styles. It's got like a powered and unpowered. Let me just put that on in place there. And then that one goes on like so. So then these just fit and then locate wherever the flat bit on the spindle is. Like so. And the last one. Find the spot where that is. There it is. And then that goes into there too. So, and then the other thing you might notice is there's a small hole. I don't know if you can see that actually. I told you that would fall out. Let me just find a different coloured thing. So I'm just going to put some green underneath this so you might be able to see a bit easier. There you go. So that's actually a hole for a switch, because one of the complaints about the original SMARS is that there's no easy way to turn this on or off. So once you've got the battery in the original one, like so, and you put your little battery holders in.
Put Yorkshire on your shopping list.
I don't know what Alexa just added to my shopping list, but she's added something. So yeah, once you put this into place, it's not easy to get out. So let me just do that. And these 2 are 2 pieces, and on the new version 4 it's a singular piece. So let me just show you that. Once I've just pushed them into place, sometimes they're a bit tricky to get in there. that'll do for now. But yeah, once that battery's quite solidly in there, and it's quite tricky to get these out once you put them in. You have to use some kind of pliers or something like that. But you can now attach the wheels like you would normally do. Like so, and then these just push on with quite a bit of force there. Oops, I knew that would fly off. There we go. Okay, so that's that. So a switch, that's really welcome. Now the big difference is on a regular SMARS, you've got some kind of motor shield. So this is the Fundimoto and then just a regular Arduino. So instead of using this, you know, very capable device, we have this instead, which is tiny. So this just provides motor A and motor B and some controls in or out, and it's got some caps there as well. It doesn't have any of the complexity, but because it's so small, what we can do, see if we can get this arranged just right, but this will fit underneath. Let's see if I can get that in place. There we go. This little connector there. Is that right? That goes. I think I've done that wrong. Let me just undo that. So there's a little. This thing here, it holds the switch into place. So that slides into there, and then the switch can be housed through there, and the wires can sort of present through. And then this will then present kind of over that area, like that. Oh, on the other side, there it is. Like so. Obviously you'd have the wires into this thing connected to the motors, and you can connect the motors up, you know, left and right as a singular motor in effect, so that when you put power it goes to one side, so you've still got that track effect like you have on the other one. So you can't individually control the motors as I understand it with this one. Yeah, it says motor A, motor B, so there's only two controls there. So then this thing is the again it goes that side because that's where the switch is. This is the thing that holds the motors in place. So instead of having two, you have just one, like so. I'll not actually put that in place because I'll never get that back out again. But then on the other side we have two of these connectors, so we can attach things like the. We can do it on that side, can't we? The rangefinder. There we go. See, these fall out a lot. I think they're going to need to be glued in when I get this set up properly. I need to solder the motors before I do that though. So now that we've got that there, we just need to put the rangefinder. Can you see that? The rangefinder into place, and then just the rangefinder cover over the top. Hey Max. There we go. These pieces really keep falling off all the time, so I'm just going to leave them out actually. The other one's just fallen right underneath my table. So get the idea with them, and then so that's the motorboard controller in place, the motor holder in place. We have a switch. I haven't actually got the switch component myself. I think I have to get the right size one for it to work properly. But then we have these other components. So what are all these about? So we know that one is similar to this orange piece here that holds the motors in place. And then we have these other boards. So which one should we look at first? So these have been cleverly designed. So you know on the original one, we just slide our Arduino into place like so, and it goes on that sort of Arduino slot. So these pieces have been designed to also slide on the Arduino slot. So that can slide like that. Now this one is designed for, I think it's like an Arduino Nano. So there's a little channel in there where you can put an Arduino Nano, I believe. Or instead you can use the other one, which is for some, so that one you can put in place and then just put the regular Arduino, slide that board into place. So it's an either or for those two things. That is a bit of a tight fit. No, I'm doing it back to front this way. Like so, so that could be on there. I'd probably put the face on the other side if I was doing that. Or there's this version which is similar to the 18650s, is an 18340, is it? 325, it's something like that. Basically, a smaller size, and it's space for 4 of them. And you would have to put like a little metal connector in these slots that are just in there. I don't know if you can see them, but there's some little slots where you can put some pieces of metal, aluminium, and bend them to make some connectors for the batteries. And then you've then got some power to power your SMARS, and this nice little lid that sort of slides into place. Let's just do that again. And what I really like about this, let me just pull down, there we are. This is the container I have all the bits in. There's these tiny little clips that you can 3D print, and the idea is, you know, they've got some bend in them, so you can push them into these things, and they kind of lock into place. So you can connect things together. So if you want to connect this to that, you align them, and then you push these clips. I think you would have to push them quite hard, and you would have to have some PLA that's quite elastic, quite bendy, because if it's brittle, this will just snap into and not work. So depending on which one you want to use, whether it's the Arduino, or if you've got a Nano, or if you have another chip, you just slide this out. This is in quite well, it's quite a tight fit. Then you can use various different boards. You've got plenty of space in there now to put lots of different boards. So if you have like a Node MCU, I think I've got some of them to hand actually, just in here. So you've got like a Node MCU, or that's a smaller variant of that Node MCU. So it's an ESP8266 with Wi-Fi and a little USB connector, and this is actually a board that you can buy that's got some motor driver boards on it as well, so you wouldn't need that little one in that case, but that could fit in there, and you could have the battery on top. I have seen some variants of the version 4 that have got the rangefinder in a sort of that orientation. So instead of being, you know, that way round, it's that way round. I'm not sure I like the look of that personally. I quite like the sort of friendly face that gives, like that. The tracks are exactly the same, so we just leave that out of the way for a second. Put some tracks on. So these are just the regular tracks. You need 16 pieces for each side, and then just a piece of filament that you cut. Let's see if I can get this on. These were quite a tight fit before. I think it's just might just need to do the old trick of printing one of them slightly longer than the rest, but there we go, that's one side done. And then the other side, like so, and we just push that through there. Okay. So it's quite more stable design, because you can have these motors in or out, and the wheels are staying put because the actual power is on the inside of that. So it's only when you connect this does this transfer power from that spindle to the actual wheel itself. There we go, that's gone in now. So it's exactly the same size, dimension wise, as the original SMARS. So if we just put that one together, can't remember where that other wheel bounced off to. I think it went down the back of the thing there. I've got some spares. And here's some very brightly coloured tracks. These are a much easier fit on this particular one. Not sure why that is, but there we go. And what do we need? We need a wheel with, to use this yellow one just for now. I think that probably needs a bit of burring out, that one. It's not quite pushing on very nicely. You get the idea anyway. So we can then just connect them up with a piece of filament. Go. So you just ignore the fact that they're a little bit skew. Oh, that fell off. So these are quite a lot slacker. Again, I always recommend putting a dab of glue on the spindle just to lock that in place when you're doing it. So we'd then put our regular Arduino in place, and then we put our motor board on top. We would have the motors wired up, and then we'd put the power in just on the side there. And we would have our, again, this is exactly the same as the one on the version 4. Just slot in place there, and then we've got one SMARS there, and then on the other one we can just put these back. So I'm not sure if there always is a front and a back actually. So if you ever look on the chassis design, there's kind of a little stop there that you don't get on the other side. So when you slide the Arduino in, it sort of stops up against that. So that's how we know that's the front. And we'll then just decide, which of these we want to be the Arduino or the Arduino Nano. So I'll put the Nano in because that's kind of upside down in that orientation. Oops, that way around. You get a much nicer sort of snug fit on this when they're there. And again, you apply them 4 clips, so that's what your finished SMARS version 4 would look like. So we'll just bring that on the main camera. You can see what that kind of looks like if I just get that center so that it zooms in on it nicely. Again, we wouldn't have that hole there, we'd have the motor in place, the wheel in place like so. So you can get much nicer designs of wheels. You can alternate the colours on them rather than just being a solid colour like they are on the original SMARS on that side. So the whole wheel is the same colour. Now I did design a variant of the original wheel. Let me show you what that looks like, which is the best version of that. So I designed one, so this one is for the unpowered wheel. I'll just show you that. And it's got this sort of great big hole in it, but it's got 4 little slots in a sort of cross formation, and then I designed an inner piece like this piece here that can perfectly fit within those slotted pieces. So you can just see that's actually 2 pieces, so you can print them in 2 colors and then get that effect on the original one. So that's a variant that I did for that. And I think it's about £10 to buy the SMARS version 4 on Cult 3D. So if you're interested in that, it's another nice version to build, and you get a few extra bits and bobs as well with it. Like I said, the rangefinder can be in the other orientation as well, and I think there is like a camera variant as well that you can get for that. So depending what chip you use, so if you're using like a Raspberry Pi Zero, that's probably powerful enough to drive a camera. Quite a few other people have used one of these, which is the ESP32 with the camera on board. See, 32 cam. There we go. And yeah, that's just got like a tiny little camera module. You can just see it flapping there, which you just adhere to the front. And the beauty of these is, so this has got the Wi-Fi chip on the back. So you don't have to do anything with these, just give it some power. It'll find the Wi-Fi connection. Can't remember how you program this for it to find that, but anyway, you can basically, I think you connect to it as an access point, that's right, and then once you've connected to it as an access point, you can just go to a specific IP address, and then you can see what it can see through the camera. So that'll be a neat project for us to try, and a few people have got that working. So you can literally just have that housed in a module at the front of your SMARS, and then you can see what it can see. You can't do anything with that video, as I understand it. It is just like a stream out, a bit like a POV that you'd have on a drone, so you can't do object detection on it on device. As far as the Arduino is not aware of this, it's just carrying this camera. So it's not quite the same as having like an onboard camera like we have on some of the quads, where we built that into the thing. So don't know what you think about that. Is that useful to you at all to sort of see them side by side? It's definitely worth supporting Kevin Thomas. I spoke to him today actually, and he's working on some additional designs. He's working on some really interesting stuff. We were talking about robot arms and metal detectors and wireless charging. I'll show you just while we're talking about wireless charging. Let me just find the box that has that in. There it is. So to wirelessly charge is really easy. So you can buy these pair of coils. You can see they've got 2 different types of circuit board. If I hold them apart like that, you might be able to see them better. So they've got like a sender and a receiver in effect. So one will receive power, one will send power. Can't remember which way around it is, but I'd have to make sure I did that before I glued these in. But they're very, very thin. So I was just measuring them before with my calipers. They're about 40 millimeters in diameter. So very easy for us to fit on the bottom of our SMARS, for example. So we could potentially have that in place like so. Ideally, we'd have this, you know, slotted in, so there could be some kind of slot. So, you know, there's very thin material because you don't want too much distance between it. But then you would have some kind of pad or mat that this drives over, and therefore these things are very closely together. So you apply power to this, this then receives it, and then it's up to you what you do with it. So if you wanted to charge a battery like a LiPo battery, you'd probably need an extra circuit for that. So I'd recommend like the Adafruit Power Boost 500 or 1000. I think I have got some of them knocking about, probably just in that box over there. Let me just get that. I think that's it. There we go. So so this is a Power Boost 1000. So you can see my dreadful soldering on that. When I put this together, I was very, very poor at soldering. I didn't put flux on or clear the flux. I put flux on, but I didn't clear it off afterwards. So you can see that it says 5.2 volts output, 1000 milliamps. So it's more than enough to power like a Raspberry Pi, I believe. And it's got a nice big fat USB connector on it there as well on one end. You can choose different versions of that. And then there's this much larger module here that I've got, which is a solar charging one. So this one has been specifically designed. Again, it's another Adafruit module. I don't know if you can see that. USB solar LiPo charger. So what it has on there, on the very top, it has a USB connector, and then it has a battery connector on one side, and what does it have on the other side? You would have like the solar panel, for example. So you could have a solar panel, you could have a little pod that this SMARS drives over, and then this could be connected to your wireless charger thing, and then hey presto, you got some free power. So that could be a nice little project to do. I do have a solar panel somewhere knocking about on one of my boxes. It's not a very big one. I did used to have it when before this summer house existed. We used to have a greenhouse, and the solar panel was sat on there. One of my first projects with Arduinos was actually a summer house robot that would take temperatures and send data, so I could measure it from a distance. Hey Victor, how's it going? From Argentina, fantastic. So another question there. Apologies, how do you pronounce your name? If you can spell it phonetically. There's some sort of non-English characters there, so I wouldn't know how to pronounce that name. So does it really need 4 motors? You don't need them. So you could just put 2 in and leave the others unconnected, and then it'd just be like a regular SMARS, so you don't have to have 4. I think the idea is it just gives it even more power to the track, but obviously it would consume more power, so whatever battery unit you've got there would drain quicker. So the downsides are price and power consumption increase. That's right. Are there some benefits for 4 instead of 2? Again, I think it's just down to you could probably get away with having higher speed motors because they tend to have less torque in them, less pulling power. But because you've got 2 lots on each side, you get that pulling power back. But I would argue as well. So I bought some 300 RPM motors, and they're just too fast. There's one of the videos you might have seen that I put together. And there's one that's called "What Can SMARS Do?" and there's a scene in that called "Battle," and there's 2 SMARS sort of head to head and smash each other apart. And one of them has got the 300 RPM motors in, and they're just too fast. So 150 is a nice steady, maybe a little bit slow, but it can crawl over anything with them. There's loads of torque, so that's what I would say about that. So is it Namanj and then Shikalika? I'll have to sort of spell that one out. I don't like mangling people's names. It's the most important word in anyone's vocabulary, isn't it? Their own name. So yeah, the wheels are really neat, aren't they? I quite like them. I was inspired by them to design my own, variant of that with a. I designed about 10 different innards in the wheels so that you can have. They're all on that video I did about the wheels. One of the very first videos I did on the Fusion 360 design. They're all in there, and yeah, I designed quite a few different ones. This was quite a fancy one, but I did some quite basic ones as well. So yeah. So Ivan says, howdy, what's up? What's up, Ivan? How's it going? So yeah, I thought this was a new thing I'd try, just going live direct to Facebook. I usually go live in fact, I can do this. I go live every Sunday on YouTube at 7 p.m. GMT. And there's all the different time zones around the world as well, because I'm based in the UK. So I'm where Greenwich Mean Time is, about 200 miles north of Greenwich, to be honest. So on the left-hand column, you've got all the Americas and Canada. Middle, you have you've got Europe, some of Eastern Europe, Pakistan and India, a bit of Russia, and then on the right hand you've got China, Australia, and again some of Russia, I believe. So roughly you know where you are on those. I couldn't put all the time zones on because there's quite a few. But yeah, definitely check us out on the YouTube. I have recently subscribed to something called Restream, so I'm going to try that. I was trying that out just before I went live today actually, and it didn't work. So I was trying to figure out how I can go live in YouTube as well as Facebook at the same time, because most people they prefer to stay where they are. So if you're in Facebook and you're scrolling through, you see the live, you want to see that. You don't really want to punch out to YouTube. And other people who found me through YouTube who haven't found me via the SMARS community, they just want to come at it from YouTube. So yeah, I was a bit disappointed that I couldn't get it working for this particular stream, but I'll give it another go. It's all down to permissions of the group. So you might notice as well, I've been promoted to a moderator of the group. So because I am quite active in the SMARS community, Kevin was very generous to make me a moderator of the group. But I do have my own website where I've collected lots of information about SMARS. It does need a bit of an update. I will look at that this week. But there's loads of tutorials on there, loads of videos, loads of designs and stuff like that. There's a little online store there as well. So if you want to buy some components and stuff, you can see them there. Or if you don't want to buy them from there, you can see what they're called and buy them somewhere else perhaps. I don't really mind. It does help pay for the shop though, because it's not free running that thing, but I just want people to build robots. That's my thing. So yes, they're the two calls to action, as we say. So I hope this was useful to you. I'll try again another time to go live to both YouTube and Facebook. But yeah, I really love this community. I love people who show what they built, and every day you come to the group and somebody else has just done something even more awesome where they've added more modules and more stuff to it, and I love this stuff. Don't know about you. Simon says, nice, we're at the same time zone, check. Ah, awesome. Hello over there. Great, well I'll jump off now then. I think this is just a quick one to say hi and to try out going live in Facebook. So thanks everyone, and I shall see you next time.